Friends from Craigslist.
Woo! Ooh, that was fire! Yeah.
What's up, podcast? Welcome to episode 15. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate you. Be sure you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Drop a review. We appreciate every single one. And make sure you check us out on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all at Friends from Craigslist. Thanks for coming. What up, Grace?
How are we doing today?
Dude, it is so nice to see you. I feel like I've had a really long weekend, and a lot has gone down. So it's been, I've been looking forward to this. I feel like it's like my therapy.
All right, safe space. What's been going on?
Oh,
nothing
bad. Just very eventful. So I'm like, you know what? I need a moment to just sit and relax and
what
chat.
did I chat about last week about that social hangover?
It's very true, and I'm noticing it. So like, actually, previous to this episode being recorded, Hope and I went to grab a drink somewhere, and it was weird. Like, it was weird to have to interact. Like, we sat at the bar, and it was weird to like try to interact with the bartender in a way that was like quote unquote normal, right? So like, it was like I didn't know how to like be like, hey, what's up? Like, yeah, dude, like we're just hanging out, and it was weird.
They're like, what do you want to drink? It's like, well, what do you have in the fridge? Because that's usually how I decide what to drink is what's left over in the fridge. Like, I don't get to make choices.
Right, and no, it was weird. It was nice, especially because supposedly they lifted, the mask mandates. Not that I'm still walking around with it on, but supposedly you can walk around now without a mask on if you're vaccinated. But I don't trust these hoes out here. But it's weird because I'm walking outside now, and it's there are people without masks on, and very much like Rachel Maddow said it the other night. She's like, I have to reconfigure my brain so that I
not think that they're
like the enemy.
Yep.
And so it's weird, man. It's like it's getting used to it. Anyway, how was your weekend?
It was good.
Any event? I saw it's your puppy's birthday today. Is it today?
Yes, today. Our little fluff ball is a year old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you feel like a proud parent?
A little bit, a little bit like a proud parent, a little bit like, holy shit, time really does fly. Like, is this what parenting is? Next thing you know, they're 1, and the next thing you know, they're 15.
Yeah, I can't believe on a human level that I'm going to be 30 very soon, and it makes me feel like holy shit. Either like, wow, I've made it to 30 and I'm not a complete failure, or I've made it to 30 and I want to like shoot myself because I don't feel like, when you put, and this will lead into what I want to talk about, but when you put expectation on yourself to like, okay, when I'm this age, I'm going to be at this level, right? I'm going to be at this part. And then you're not like, you're maybe not there. Like you're not, in my case, I'm not the next Justin Timberlake quite yet, but I've accomplished so much in general. Have you felt that way where like you've gotten to where you are now and you're like, I thought when I was 6 that I said when I turned 30, which is ancient, I would be at this point,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I, even when I started the workforce, I would see people who were managers that were 30, and I would think, wow, you must suck if you're still a manager at 30. Like, I'm just starting and you're only 2 positions away from me or 3 positions away from me, and I got 10 years or 9 years before I'm going to get to you. And now I'm 30 and a senior manager, and I'm like, well, shit. Not that I haven't been exceeding expectations and moving quickly, but I definitely was in the mindset that, when I was working with people, I was like, you're 30 and, in your 30s and you're only this. And now I'm 30s and only this. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And it's not like
sounds like judgmental little shit. Cool.
Right. And do you remember, like, back in the day when you were, like, let's say you were in, like, junior high school and then you saw, like, the high school kids and they were, like, at the mall or wherever they were and you're like, oh, man, they're so old. And, like, forget about college. Like, you're like, oh, they're so old. They're so cool. And now you look back and you're like, oh, man, I hate all those high school, college kids, especially now being in Murray Hill. I want to shoot them in the face because I'm like, what? Like, you're all in my way. You're all drunk. Get out of my way.
Their existence annoys me. Like, and I don't like. And I'm 100% projecting. And I think all of them are selfish, ignorant, self-centered pieces of shit. And
pretty accurate.
They all like. All they want is all they want is the quick win, fame, and not work hard for what they want to do. And that's where my mentality is about anyone under the age of like 21.
Do you like what gets me is like these like influencers that are like 19 years old and are making like a 6-figure salary for like posting on.
Lesbehonest for real. Don't even get me started on that. Influencers, like, they are the reason I feel like everyone is lazy and thinks that it's like a quick win. I feel like it's the new musician where you think anyone can do it. I could do it. Anyone can be it. All they need to do is like not work hard, not that musicians think that, but I felt like back in our day, being a musician was like the dropout that just like had talent and anyone could just be it if they just knew how to play guitar. Like there was this like raw attitude about it, not giving the credit for the people who actually work hard and need to do it and work their butt off. And now there's these influencers who did same what, like, again, music, who just like what's her face, whatever, Black, who just got Friday, that got famous for the music. Like, it's those people that make the people who work hard to become famous and influence and inspire, like, it belittles it.
Yeah, it does. And what really drives me crazy is, so I was listening to Howard Stern today, and because I'm like, oh, maybe I could be, and he said that he saw these people on social media doing the, when you fill the paint bucket and you poke a hole or something and you spin it around like a big canvas and it gets to be this whole thing. And he's like, he was saying how art is one of those mediums where like you can be complete shit and then call it something and like people will take you seriously. So like you could say, oh, well, I'm a minimalist, and you do these like little like 3 lines and being like, oh, but it's minimalism, and like people will try to interpret it in a way, and that every other art form, like, you can kind of you can't bullshit. But I disagree. I agree with his art idea because I'm like, yes, 100%. I could call myself an artist and do 3 little lines in pencil and be like,
or like when you walk in and there's just like a full yellow canvas and it's just like one color and it's like hanging in like an office, and like, why did you pay for that? Like, I know you paid for it.
Right, and probably a ridiculous amount of money. But
ridiculous.
He was saying that every other art form you can make it, you can tell. Right, and he specifically said music. He's like, when someone can sing or someone can't, and when someone could play an instrument or someone can't. And I'm like, in a way I agree, but in a way I disagree, because there is so much, there's so much technology now that you can make yourself sound a way, that is not reality. So like, I think the true test of a musician is, can you show up to a gig and sit down with a guitar or a piano and play, be good, be a good player, be a good singer, and have actual songs that mean something. So like,
and I mean, it's funny. I feel like there was an era of auto-tune, and then you would go see these people in concert, and you're like,
it's garbage.
I'd rather listen to you on the radio. Like, there's that moment, and that 100%.
That's honestly, that's what I really appreciate. Like, people like the Counting Crows. Like, I love Augustana. Even when we saw the Maine in concert, to go as like poppy and punky poppy, whatever you want to call them, alternative or whatever. Like they were still really good, and for what they are, right? The Maine specifically, they're just like a let's party kind of band. They're kind of like a I guess like almost like a Good Charlotte or like a it's like fun party kind of thing. But like when I see Augustana, when I see the Counting Crows, and they do like acoustic, like Dan from Augustana did a total acoustic tour, and he like went on stage with a piano and a guitar, and he did an hour and a half, and it was like, oh, okay. Or like Billy Joel or Elton John, like they can go and they're like, oh, okay, like you don't need the theatrics because you're just that amazing. But what kills me recently, really fucking kills me, even I will give credit where credit is due. I will say Taylor Swift can kill it by herself. I'll say Ed Sheeran can kill it by himself. There are a lot of mainstream cats that can kill it and walk on a stage and just say, here's me. This is my thing, and sound fucking amazing. But even like last night on the Tonight Show, it was Jimmy Fallon, of course. It was Chris Rock and 21 Savage. And I'm like, God damn, like, there are not, and they were giving 21 Savage so much props. And the musical guest was Willow. I think it was Will Smith's kid. And I'm like, dude, you're not a musician. Get the fuck out of here. And Jimmy, like, what really offended me is Jimmy Fallon was calling her a musician. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. She's not a musician. She's someone that sings. And she had Travis Barker behind her. It's just you're a singer or you're a kid of a famous person or you're a personality. You're not a musician. Yeah. You can't read music. You can't sound good when you're alone with one instrument. You have no depth to your music. Not saying that the mainstream people that I mentioned earlier had any depth, but anyway. Like you're not a musician. So like what frustrates me, and part of the thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is like, I want to keep going on this route before I bring up the other stuff because I think we're getting somewhere good here and I'm enjoying where we are sitting at. But there are too many people that call themselves musicians when you're not a fucking musician. And it offends me as a musician because I took so much time and so much effort into learning how to be a musician, and it's painstaking, and there's a lot of hours, and there's a lot of by yourself and missing out time with friends because you're sitting in a practice room or whatever for so damn long. But then, the guy that, makes beats on, GarageBand can say, oh yeah, bro, I'm a musician, I'm a beat maker.
Yeah.
But there are people like J. Cole. I consider J. Cole a musician because he's a badass rapper, but he does all of that. He does all the production. He's got a team, of course, but like production, he writes his shit. I could be wrong, but Ariana Grande comes off like she can't write a word of her shit. So I'm like, Ariana Grande is not a musician, in my opinion. Don't quote me. I don't want hate mail off this because I haven't done my research. That was an ignorant statement. I just don't love her very much. I'm glad that she's married at 19 or however the fuck old she is. But like that drives me crazy. So like, do you see that in your career as well, where they're like, oh, I'm a marketing expert, or I'm a blah 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 expert, or in your life, and you're like, dude, you read the cliff notes, but you don't know the actual work that goes into it.
Yep. It's the hustle. And I think that's the difference. That's the difference. That's why influencers bug us, is the lack of hustle to make the money and the situation that we want to be in, knowing how much hustle we do.
Yeah. And it's insane. And it's borderline offensive to the point of like, and I'm only saying this in like a deep, dark way. I'm not really meaning to be dark. There was a friend that I have on Instagram that he does. I met him in real life too. So we went to high school together. It wasn't like I just added someone on Instagram. We went to school together. Cool dude. And he posted recently something super, super honest and real. Is that like he's in? I think he's more into like artist management and beat making, maybe production. And he posted this whole thing of how, man, this industry that I'm trying to break into, let's say, because I don't know if break in is the right word, but trying to get some headway in, is beating the shit out of them. And 110% I understand that, because especially during this pandemic, the music industry has been beating the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. But I will say I have been super lucky, and we talk about it all the time, that I've gotten like a bunch of gigs working from home, writing music for films, writing music for whatever, and writing my own, having the time to write an album. But, and I'm sure this kind of applies everywhere, but like, man, talk about like, I didn't want to say this before we came onto this podcast, because I didn't want to come off like this guy, because we all know life is not fair. Life is not built to be fair, and it is not fair. And don't go into a competitive field if you think life is fair. But fuck, life's not fair, man.
Well, I think the hard part is less of like for me, I get less beaten up when something happens, like out of your, like rain on your wedding, like shit that like bad shit happens. Life isn't fair. Life will knock you down. Life will kick you while you're down. What I think gets me the most is life is not what you put in, you get out. And there's going to be people that argue with me about that. But the amount of hustle and stuff that it feels like sometimes we're putting out there does not get the payout it deserves, especially when you look at people who don't put things out. Not saying actors don't put in a lot of work, but there are definitely people who just got born into things and just can do it and don't have to work hard for it. They have to do their job, but the hustle isn't there. Or they become an influencer because they made a watermelon explode one day and now they're making millions of dollars. There's little to no hustle and output or input that they're putting to get the output they return. And that's the part. And I'm not saying my input should be millionaire, but my input should be more than I'm doing now. Like,
right. No, I agree with you 110%. And I will give you the example of, and I don't want to get blacklisted and or canceled. So I will give you this example, and I will say, in a very broad sense, I work really hard. I pride myself on working harder than the next guy. I'm not the best singer that there ever was. I'm not trying to be the best singer that there ever was. I'm a really good saxophone player and a really good songwriter. I work my ass off every single day to put out content. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Because I think people want to hear you and who you are, not necessarily like, oh, here's the perfect sounding, Instagram video or TikTok video that I've ever put out, and oh my God, like I think people want to see realness, right? So I've been putting out covers, and I've been putting out this, and I've been putting out that, and emailing and doing all this, and the one thing I ask from a certain company of just a little bit of help funding a song. And there's just no response. And I'm like, man, it's really, in a way, and the point I wanted to make was it's such a DIY culture. For good, for better, and for worse. You got to figure out how to do it yourself. I was asked to give some advice to a friend's friend about like recording setup and mixing and things like that. And man, I'm trying to, and this person's younger than I am, but by no means like a child, but it's really hard to get through people's heads. Hey man, you gotta learn. Like this person I'm talking to they're like, oh, what do I do for this? What do I do for this? What do I do for this? And I'm like, I don't know if I can put it in Google. Like I don't like. And like, of course, I'm giving the answers that they're asking, but it's like, dude, you have to look this stuff up. Like, I'm happy to help. Yeah. What you can't find on your own, but you have to do the work, and that's for everything, man. Like, you have to put the work in, You have to look these things up. No one's going to fucking spoon feed you. No one, especially now when there's the oversaturation of this entire market and there's no handouts. There's no easy way to do anything. You have to fucking learn. So like the person I'm talking to is like an artist. She writes her own music. She sounds really great. She was asking mostly about post-production stuff. And I'm like, dude, I gave her some key points. And I'm like, yeah, and you have to learn how to do this. Because if you don't have the money to just be like, here's a lot of money, mix my music, then you have to learn it. And, well, good thing we're in a pandemic where you can sit at home and like learn and do it. And if you want, you have to invest the time.
Now, how do you feel, about that response, knowing how many times you've asked people for help and they say, learn it. And you're like, well, I know you've already done it. Why can't you just do it for me?
Well, I like that because, okay, so if I ask someone, so I approach this person that I'm helping in the way that I wanted to be approached. So she asked for help and said, how do I do this? What's the best approach for this? I gave her the pillars for success, and I gave her detailed examples. And then if she wants to go beyond that, which you have to, like I said, this is just scratching the surface. Dive deeper into this. I'll send you some articles. Learn more about blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
If she came to me and said, hey, I don't know shit about mixing or mastering or music production, I want you to do it, I'd say, okay, great. How much money do you have?
Yeah.
So,
well, it depends what you're trying to do.
Right, but listen, knowledge is free, man. Now I'm passing it down. I'm not trying to get money for me passing down knowledge because I wouldn't be where I am unless somebody took the time to say, "Hey, I'll teach you something." Because there's so many people out there now, and I'm sure you see it, and it's in every walk of life. It's not just music. It's not just teaching people production. It's everything of, oh, you want to know something? Pay me. Where there's just there's no passing down the tradition of something.
There is none. And even it's funny you say that. Like you see all these people who on TikToks and stuff and whatever they go to the gym. They're not even like trainers. And it's like, oh, you want my help? You want something or other? Pay me. And it's like, I get it. Like everyone's trying to make money, but there's a level of, give back where you can give back.
Dude, that's what I love. And people get on my case about this all the time because it's very stereotypical, but I love Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you know Gary V? I love it. And yes, he's a little too much sometimes, but his premise is fucking spot on. He tells you or gives you ideas from what he does as far as content creation and dispersing content goes, and you see him talk to other people, then it's free. He's just giving you advice and giving you his 2 cents. You could take it or fucking leave it. Now, granted, he has a bajillion-dollar empire that he took his expertise and built, and you can, if you're a company, go to his, little thing and, do... you can pay a crap load of money to have one-on-one, whatever, but all the stuff he puts on social media, it's free advice.
Yep.
That's it. And you don't have to follow him. If you think he's full of shit, cool. Don't listen. But that's how I want to be, right? Because this world is too fucking hard. And I'm lucky. I've had one or two people in my life that have been that person of, all right, cool, I'm going to take the extra step and sit down with you and explain this to you in whatever it may be, that I'm not paying them to just pass down advice or give me some insight. But 99.9% are like, oh yeah, you want me to tell you about this? Oh yeah, pay me. Or there's this fucking guy drives me nuts. He's like, I was looking up TikTok analytics because I'm trying to learn TikTok, right? Because I hate fucking TikTok. But in the words of Cody Rigsby, my Peloton instructor, I'm not going to be left behind, bitch. So there was this guy. So now I'm getting the ads on YouTube of like, oh, you want to be a TikTok? You want to grow your TikTok? Pay me $2,000 and I will tell you how to. I'm like, okay. But the thing is, and what I appreciate about the Gary Vee content is 95% of the people that listen are not going to employ those tactics. So why would you pay someone to have a pre-recorded class? Be like, here's how to increase your TikTok. It's like, it's like Wolf of Wall Street shit, man. It's like,
it's a bit of, it's the value. Like I wrote a workout program and I've just made it into a PDF and you owe me $100 for it. It's like, what?
Right. Now, I will say with workout stuff, and you may agree with this, if it's just like a PDF, it's like, fuck, I'm not paying $100 for PDF. But if it's PDF with videos, with maybe nutrition plans to follow, like, okay.
Yeah, if there's like a program, 100%, I get that. But there's so much shit out there that's like, that's the other part. There's so much free stuff that why are you trying to, like, who are you to make your own PDF this or your own support or help at a certain level. And the other part too is I wish more people who've made it took the time to give back. Like there is not a give back to the community mentality anymore. There is a hold my cards close to my chest. I had to hustle, so you have to hustle. I had to learn it, so you have to learn it. Not that you don't want to learn it, but they're not even teaching you the steps. Like so many times you're like, how do I get there? I'll learn it. Just point me on a path. And they're like, nope, I have to figure it out. So do you. And you're like,
right, which is
why would you want me to succeed? Why would you not want to spread?
Which is not the way to go, because at least in music, what really fucking kills me, man, is it's all about relationships. And it's really, really challenging to form relationships if you don't have that one person that says, hey, yeah, come over here. I'll introduce you to XYZ. You know, and it's same for your life too, man. How did you get your job? Exactly.
Networking. I got it solely because of someone I knew. And there are people, I'll admit, there are people out there who understand, hey, someone helped me, I'll help you. So I think it's excellent.
They're the minority, 100%.
They are. But episode 15, the big takeaway is no matter who you are, no matter how big or little or small or starting or whatever, give back. Your success, you don't need to trample on others to be successful. Your success is dependent on how everyone else does around you. The more you help, the more you grow your network, the more you grow people. Stop being a dick and holding everything close to you.
And let's be honest, if you're not doing that and you're successful, you're a dick.
You're a dick.
Or you're not successful because you're a dick and not helping others.
Moral of the story, there's a lot of dicks out there and
not as many vaginas. So I don't know. That didn't work. But anyway, yes, I know I got carried away. I don't want to go on all night. So I will say, to be continued. We'll stick a pin in it. I'm glad that we did this. I felt like, as you could tell, I probably had to vent a little bit out.
I understand.
We'll have a fun one coming up again, and we'll do some guests, and it'll be fun. What episode is this again?
15.
15. Episode 15. We'll see you real soon.